to what it's like growing up in a large family, part 3. This will be a Q&A. I have a bunch. So while I was filming, did your parents really plan to have a big family? Hi all, welcome back to what it's like growing up in a large family, part 3. Now, if you guys have seen my 2 previous videos, I've talked a lot about just what it's like growing up in a large family. I've covered an introduction to just who my family is, where I'm from, all those kinds of things. We've also interviewed my siblings and what they thought, or some of my siblings. And I've just talked on some parenting, or what my parents' parenting style was. And anyway, I've just talked a bunch about all kinds of different things surrounding what it's like in a large family. And so if you're interested in the content before, and it'll probably explain more of what this video is about, but please go check out those previous 2 videos. I will link them in the description down below. And so go ahead and check those out before you start watching this one. But anyway, so let's jump right in. This will be a Q&A. I have a bunch of questions that people have asked me surrounding what it's like growing up in a large family, and so I'm gonna just answer those questions, and then hopefully if we have time today, I'm going to also talk about some misconceptions. If I don't have time, that will be another video. I don't intend on just ending this topic right here and there, right now, with this last video. I want to be able to grow this subject in my channel, and I will be talking more about big families and different questions and things surrounding that subject. So stay tuned for more content like it coming your way. But let's go ahead and get right into this video. So while I was filming, guys, she fell asleep. Poor little thing, she's so tired. Alright, so the first question is, how much was the food bill? That's a good question. Do I remember how much? Not exactly. A rough estimate would probably be, and this is just so you know, it's like we would go shopping every 3 weeks. We try to stretch it to a month. Sometimes that didn't work, sometimes it did, depending on what we needed. We would end up always probably going every 2 weeks to the grocery store to get fresh fruits and vegetables, I mean. But we would try like the big Costco haul once a month. But anyway, the food bill, oh gosh. If you're gonna say once a month, like the Costco run,
the big one,
I want to say it was like $400, maybe $5. I'm not exactly 100% sure. I don't remember. It kind of fluctuated from time to time depending on what we needed, because we buy in bulk, and so sometimes we didn't need a bunch of bulk items, which are more expensive sometimes, and so we would only need like a few items. I don't know, it just kind of depended. I'm trying to think. Mom, you're watching this. You should comment in the comment section down below and tell me exactly how much it was, because I don't remember. So comment in the comment section down below, Mom, and let everybody know how much it really was, because I don't remember. So anyway, moving on. All right, next question. What were the routines for traveling, or getting out of the house and traveling? So this is kind of a 2-part question, but getting out of the house, we never really had a specific routine. We did try, Mom tried, it didn't always work. We'd get up, she'd tell us, okay, in the morning we have to hurry, we have to get somewhere at such and such a time. So all of us older kids would try really hard to help the littles get dressed, eat, clean up. A lot of times we didn't get around to cleaning the house before we left, but it is what it is. So there was no real routine. The routine was get ready, get dressed, eat breakfast, and we gotta leave on a timely in a timely fashion. One of the basic things, or one of the big things my dad always tried to help us out with, was he created this thing where it was the 5 B's. I think it was 5 B's. I'm not sure. Mom, remind me maybe. He would say, don't forget the binky, blanket, bag, and baby. I don't remember what the 5th one was, if there was a 5th one. And just those B's, so that we remembered, okay, those are the things we can't forget. And so that was a kind of routine every Sunday when we went to church. Just try to remember those at least 4 things. And so that was one routine. Another routine, yeah, I mean, just getting out of the house was the routine. I mean, I don't know how else to answer that one. When we traveled, going, more than just a day, or maybe a week trip or something, we would actually have more of a routine down. Mom would have a week or 2 to plan ahead, and she'd make a list for groceries that we had to get ahead of time. She'd make a list for snacks that we had to make. Clothes had to be packed at a certain time. Laundry had to be washed. And so we had a list of things that had to get done, and that we all had to help and pitch in with. So that was a routine. And then the day of, the routine was, a lot of times we'd leave early in the morning before the littles woke up. And then us kids would start waking up. And the night before, of course, we would try to get everything packed, everything ready. And so right in the morning, all we would have to do is pack up a few things that were like we would use, that morning, and put them in the van. But a lot of times we had everything already packed in the van. And so that was a big routine, just to have everything done the night before, most everything that we could get done, so that it was easy to just throw the little stuff in that was kind of just, around the house that we used. And then the kids were the last thing to go in. A lot of times Dad would just wake us all up, and then we'd get the kids out of their beds, probably most of the time in their pajamas, yes. And we'd buckle them up, and then Dad would start driving. And that was basically the routine, to just get everything done before the big day. So. All right, next question is, what were our routines for bedtime, mealtime, cleanup? Oh boy. We would have routines printed up on paper. So Mom would a lot of times have chore lists and food lists of, she would have, here's our meal prep. Yes, she meal prepped on paper. Not always meal prep in the freezer, but she would meal prep on paper, write it all down for what we were going to eat in a week, and then we would make those things. Mom would make sure we had all those in the house, all the ingredients for each day of the week, and that she would go ahead and she'd plan that out, and that would be our meal prep essentially, and meal routine. And she would try to do it every week and update it. Sometimes she would take 2 weeks and make a meal menu for 2 weeks. But anyway, that was basically meal prep or mealtime routine. Or I guess if you're asking what we did, so essentially every night after school and chores were done, Mom would start making dinner, and then we would all pitch in. Some days, as us older kids got older, we would actually take days on ourselves and cook for the whole family. So sometimes it'd be my day to cook. And then my brothers would clean the kitchen. We'd all pitch in, but I didn't have to at least do the dishes, which is nice. So that's kind of how we did cleanup and mealtime. So let's see here. Yeah, and so we would go ahead and help Mom clean up, make food, depending on if it was, most of the time she cooked, but every once in a while us kids would have a day to cook for the family. And then once it was all made, we would set the table. A lot of times we didn't set the table. We would just have everything in the kitchen, and then each kid would get up and go in the kitchen to get their food. We didn't put it all on the table because that was just too much clutter, and a lot of times kids would be grabby. So we'd get the little kids in their high chairs or chairs, whatever, put their food on their plate. No one was allowed to eat till before prayer, and then we would, after all of us got our food, we'd sit down, and then Dad would pray, and then we'd eat. We always prayed beforehand, mainly because we always wanted to pray, but we always wanted to put God first, so we did that. But we'd pray, and then we'd eat, and then after a while everybody would get their seconds, and then we'd go ahead and put our plates in the sink. A lot of times, as kids, everybody was guilty of it, but we'd leave our plate, and Mom would be like, "Excuse me, clear your place." And so we'd all eventually have to go clear our places. And so, so essentially we cleaned up after dinner, and then we had devotional time, read the Bible. We didn't always get to it every day, which we always feel bad about, but my dad felt bad about and my mom, but it's life. Anyway, on a regular day, we would get the devotions, and then we'd put the littles in bed, probably right around 9 o'clock, maybe 8:30, depending. And then us kids would probably go to bed around 10:30. And then mom and dad obviously would be up till they went to bed. So that was basically bedtime routine. Bedtime routine did consist of us older kids helping. We would have a buddy system. And if any of you have heard this before, a lot of big families do this. It's essentially an older sibling has a buddy with a younger sibling. And the older sibling and the little sibling are in charge of being buddies together. And so a lot of times what would happen is the older sibling would help the little sibling who's buddy with them with brushing their teeth, getting their pajamas on, changing a diaper if need be, and then putting them to bed, reading them a story, yada yada. You were just essentially in charge of them. And it helped mom and dad kind of be able to watch everyone, because it's really hard to watch everyone when the older ones don't do anything. So that helped them just be organized and able to be like, oh, okay, the older one is helping with the little one's owie or going to the bathroom or whatever. It was just a lot easier, so mom and dad there's only two of them, so they can't split into 9 children and help every last one of us. So as older kids, that was essentially, we had the responsibility of helping them out when they needed it. And so, yeah, a lot of times that little buddy would also help the big buddy with cleaning and chores. So I think I answered that question. I hope I answered that question well. But anyway, so another question is, did I feel deprived? Blah, blah, blah. I'd say no. I don't think there was ever really a time that I felt like deprived and not getting enough attention or any of that. I mean, I'm sure I did at some point. I mean, I'm a little sinful sinner, but I'm not perfect, so I'm sure there was a time where I felt that way. But on a regular basis, day to day, no, I never did. I always felt that my parents loved me completely, and I never felt like they didn't love me. And I don't think any of us ever did. I still don't. And I just never felt like I was missing something with not having or having too many siblings. I never felt that. I always felt like I was given such a blessing. I think that is mainly to do because because of my parents' attitude. They weren't overly strict, but they weren't overly go with the flow either. So they kind of had a good balance. They weren't perfect, and sometimes they would yell at us. Yeah, they weren't perfect, but they would always apologize, and when they knew they were in the wrong. So that was very beneficial in how we felt as kids. We never felt deprived. And being the oldest, a lot of people give the assumption that all you did growing up was help the littles and clean and do all this stuff. No, that's wrong. That's another reason why I didn't feel deprived, is because my parents didn't do that. Now, granted, were we expected to clean the house, help with chores, help with the littles? Yeah, of course we were. There's a lot of kids in that family. If you don't help, it is going to really get hard and really chaotic. So obviously we had things that were expected of us. So no, I never felt deprived. My sinful nature maybe did at some times, but I always kept it in check and would, obviously just dismiss that because there was no reason to feel that way. I really just always felt loved and like I was given plenty. Christmas was always plentiful with gifts, not every year obviously, but we always had gifts, and so that was a special thing, so I was never deprived of that. And even if I was, I don't think that's something to feel deprived about, because sometimes your parents just can't afford it and they're trying to feed you and clothe you and help you, so be thankful. Anyways, let's see, what else? Here's a good one. Did you ever feel pressure at times being the eldest? Yes and no. My parents made it a point to try to not make me feel pressured. Being the eldest, you also have a lot of stuff on your shoulders and you have a lot more responsibility than the younger children. And so I would say that I did feel pressure sometimes and I would get angry a little bit. But like I said, my parents weren't perfect and sometimes they do things that they weren't supposed to, or they weren't real great as parents, but they would always come to me and be like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that or whatever. And same goes for me, like, not perfect. So but yeah, occasionally I'd feel a little bit of pressure because I had to watch the kids again because mom and dad had to do something. But all in all, I honestly enjoyed watching my siblings, mainly because I knew that mom and dad needed me and that there was a lot of pressure on them. And I was just thankful to take some pressure off of them because, having a lot of kids can be stressful at times, but it can just be a lot of work to have. Anyway, but there was more pressure on them, there was me, so. And I did feel pressure at times if I'm going to be truthful, but it wasn't anything to be worried about. So next question is, did your parents really plan to have a big family? Yes and no. I remember mom telling me that she had told dad when they first started dating, or maybe, I'm not sure when she told my dad, but she at some point told dad that she wanted 6 boys. And my dad was like, really? 6 boys? Yeah, anyway. Apparently she just thought that was just gonna be the best thing ever. My mom came from a family of 3 kids, and she was the oldest, and she and her next closest sibling were 7 years apart. So I think she just wanted more kids, and then she had a sister too, and there were more girls in her family, so I think she just wanted to have more boys. But I'm not entirely sure why she thought that, and she definitely didn't think that, or later on. But she did get some of her wish. She had 4 boys, so but she just I think she's crazy. But I think the hardest kids actually were my brothers because they had so much energy, and boys' tendency to focus on school is very short, and if they don't enjoy it, then you gotta make sure they enjoy school because boys look over the top. Unless they get older, and once they get older it's a lot easier, but they were just so stubborn. I remember mom having so much trouble with them. Even though she loved them, boys were harder for her. Although her last 2 kids are girls, and she, I think, said that those were her hardest. But anyway, the question was, I'm getting off topic here, was did they plan on having a big family? Not right away, no. I think they both knew that they wanted a bunch, a fair amount of children. But no, I don't think they had planned on having 9 children right off the bat when they got married. That was something that God kind of just put on their hearts later on. After my brother Samuel was born, he's the 4th child down the line. They just felt that God was telling them that he wanted them to have more children. And their hearts were just changed from I want to be in control of how many kids I have, to let God be in control of how many kids we want to have, or how many kids God wants us to have. And so they kind of just shifted their focus to what they want to what God wanted, and it ended up being what they wanted too. So it's kind of neat. But no, they didn't plan right off the bat to have this many kids. No. And before my dad died, he had, they weren't saying, okay, let's stop at 9. They were like, oh, let's go for it. Let's have more. But my dad did die. So weren't able to have any more. But anyway, so yeah, they did not plan that right off the bat. No. So as you can see, I got a little interrupted from finishing the video, but I'm going to go ahead and finish it here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'm actually going to be posting another video, kind of a part 2 of part 3, because I had so many questions. So I will do that next week, And so stay tuned for that video coming out next week. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.